Hello, welcome back to the Football Terrace. I said that Monday the 10th, whatever happens, Jadon Sancho would break the internet, and that has certainly happened. We're here with some interesting news, fresh from one of the best sports writers out there. Daniel Harris joins us live again. Daniel, welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How's it going?
I love it. I said the other day, I love the transfer silly season. It's amazing. There's so many ups and downs, and I'm sure your DM box and your ats have been going off for the last couple of hours or so since Borussia Dortmund have come out and made the stance that the players had his contract extended. He won't be leaving. He's got plans to stay. Let me ask you, I know you've tweeted some stuff out, but do you think there's any truth at all in what's been said that that's it now, this deal is over, done, kaput from today?
I don't know. I guess Michael Zorc is better connected than I am. So
very true, very true.
You'd be stupid to entirely dismiss what he says because you think you've got a better source than him because ultimately he is the source. However, often football clubs say things because that is what suits football clubs to say. So as far as I understand it, the deal isn't off, but it won't happen unless, this happens every summer with United, really, that they get told what the price is for a player and what the circumstances of payment are, and then they mess about either not paying it or haggling or all the rest of it. And then eventually they end up paying it at a less advantageous time for them. That happened with Dimitar Berbatov when, I can't remember, I think we talked about this last week maybe. Happened with Dimitar Berbatov where Daniel Levy said this is the price and United spent all summer haggling and ended up having to kidnap him at the airport on the last day, which meant he didn't have time to settle in Manchester and get together with the players he was going to play with and kind of build up some kind of rapport. So, yeah, I think that I do actually see Ed Woodward's angle to some extent here in that, on the one hand, my football supporter, my Manchester United supporting part of me, but also just like the bit about me that thinks Manchester United's a football club and it exists in order to play football, not to satisfy shareholders. That bit of me says, well, Dortmund has said what the price is. United can easily afford the money, so just pay the money and shut up. The other bit of me thinks, well, no one likes to have their pants pulled down, and the fee for Jadon Sancho being the same now as it was when they first talked about it, whenever that was before Corona happened, you can see why there's a problem there. But ultimately, the point of the football club is to, aside from bringing like-minded people together to watch football matches when United are playing, is that you need to just if the manager said this is the player and I need to have him and you can afford him, then do the deal and get on with it. Because it's not really the only deal that United should be doing this summer.
No, I agree with that. I think for me, it's we've spoken about it on my channel all week. I understand both clubs want to own the media narrative. I understand that they both want to come out smelling of rosing and looking powerful. As a fan, though, I enjoy the kind of the jostling almost of it. I enjoy watching it. But as a Man United fan, I just think I don't care about that from a fan point of view. Just pay it. What's really interesting now is this they seem to both care about it a lot. And it's set up this interesting notion now because if Man United land him for 120 million euros in some type of payment structure, everything Dortmund have done has been for nothing because they've made it sound today that that's it. Deadline's passed. The deal can't happen. If Man United end up paying more than the 120 million, that's the only time where I think they've let themselves down. I personally, though, would just like to see the deal done. I would like to see it get over the line. You tweeted out, there's a number of tweets that have come out. There's something that was published in the Guardian a little while ago that I wanted to share and put up, and it said that I'll add to the stream. There we go. It said that the comments are understood to be a bargain. It was from the Guardian. Man United want to pay an initial 90 million over 3 years on annual installments and a further 18 million performance-related add-ons where Dortmund's valuation is 120 million euros or higher. Is your view still the same as the other day that it's going to be about 120 million euros? The vast majority of that had been agreed. It's more just the structure that's being negotiated at this point.
Yeah, I think so. That's exactly what I've been told, that the initial payment of 60 million euros is agreed. And what's not agreed is how much the rest is going to be. Not so much how much the rest is going to be, is that how it's going to be structured. you give X amount of money when, and also the bits that have conditions attached. So what are those conditions? So I think the point here is that the conditions are intended to be achievable conditions rather than, so the sum of money is 120 million euros rather than if United win 17 Champions Leagues in a row, then Dortmund get a tenner. I don't think it's intended to be like that. It's intended to be money that Dortmund will get when a certain thing that will happen happens, rather than any kind of incentive.
Yeah, I understand. I think that's the bit for me. I think the overall fee has been there or thereabouts agreed to by both parties. What normally happens in any walk of business, it comes down to the intricacies and the clauses and when things are going to be paid and when it's, the biggest thing of any business, and these are businessmen dealing with it at this level, when do we have to pay you? And most companies want to delay when that money coming to you because cash is king in a business. And of course, the vendor wants that money as soon as possible. So I see that being, I suppose for me, it's that element of, if Man United, everyone's talking about, Michael Dembele is gone and Aubameyang, and then people say, yeah, those guys forced the move away, though. They did force a move in terms of some of their behavioural issues. However, Barcelona still had to bid. If Barcelona would only have come in with a £50 million bid, Dortmund wouldn't have sold Dembele when they did. You still have to pay the asking price. Do you think it's likely, as per your tweet, that Sancho may now hand in a transfer request to push this forward, but in maybe a more respectful way than Ousmane Dembele did it?
I think ultimately no one should have to work what they don't want to work. So if you say to your boss, I want to do this, and your boss says, no, you can't, I can understand why you might be agitated by that, especially if you felt like you had some kind of agreement that wouldn't happen. So I wouldn't necessarily chastise Ousmane Dembele for what he did, because I'm not entirely apprised of all the facts of that situation. So I think with Sancho, he probably will put in a transfer request if that's what it takes, because I feel like he's probably committed to the move. And mentally, he's probably checked out of Dortmund and probably checked in to moving back to England. And I think we talked about this also last week, that when he gave an interview when Dortmund played Tottenham last season, I guess we have to call it last season now, it's still going on this season.
Yeah.
15 years ago, but still this season. Who even knows what it's meant to be? But he sounded to me like someone who wanted to come back to England. And the impression that I get from him is that he wants, not from him as in like we're not boys, but what it seems like he wants to be back in England, and he's probably mentally committed to that. So even though it would cost him a lot of money to put in a transfer request, he is going to earn a lot of money from that transfer. He's already earned a lot of money. And so the idea of being at home is probably enough to make him do that, if that's what it will take to make the move happen. And of course, he's obviously seduced by the romance and glory of playing for Manchester United.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. It's just interesting, really. We get a lot of, traditional media. You certainly get your criticism from people, and I've one who's done that in the past. We spoke off air before about some headlines that we've seen and gone through in the past and whatnot. But as a YouTuber, we get a lot of this as well, where my channel, we report on what the headlines are saying, what the stories are saying. I give my opinion. Sometimes I agree with the headline, sometimes I disagree. My view on the Sancho situation hasn't changed at all since around December. And in terms of the information that we've received, the likes of Fabrizio Romano, that you'll know as well as I do, he works for The Guardian as well, very respectable, very credible, is that, Jadon Sancho has been happy to join United for a long, long time now. The personal element is not an issue. Dortmund know he wants to leave. Dortmund are willing to sell him for the right price. Man United have the money to buy him, both in cash terms and have the income to pay it over a period of time. It's simply now only 2 weeks into formal conversations between the two clubs. And I think that's the element that's winding fans up, is this, we take too long to get things done. And I agree with what you said at the beginning. If you were advising Woodward, it would be just go and get it done, pay it, do it in your own way. But at the same time, the clubs have only had official talks for about 2 to 3 weeks. And that's not a great length of time to actually conclude this. And I think the problem that you've had is that every week it's been on, it's been off. If we don't make Champions League, if we do make Champions League, Chelsea are coming in, Liverpool might look for him. Oh, now he's going to go Bath. Every week there seems to be something different. And I think fans just need to sit back a little bit, relax. There's still just under 2 months of this window remaining, and this could end up dragging. And I think people have just got to buckle themselves in for the ride. And I tell you what, We know how much these clubs love making money. I wouldn't be at all surprised if this was just a big facade to make the announcement even bigger. I mean, if we announce Sancho tomorrow with another music video, it's going to break record numbers on social media. And we know they care about the money that generates as well. So I think there's an element of everyone just staying that little bit relaxed. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think this deal is still to happen, Daniel?
I mean, I think I'll go 9, but I don't know what my scale is worth. But I think it's also important to say for people that are getting agitated about do this deal, do that deal. United are playing in quarter-final of the Europa League tonight. Get agitated about that. Like, there's a club, your club, if you're a United supporter, your club are playing an actual game of football, which might lead to them winning a trophy 10 days from now, a European trophy. So I would, if you can be asked to get agitated at football, then personally, like I tend to reserve, like football's meant to be a joy and a pleasure. I try and reserve my agitation for other shit. But if agitated about football is what you're into, then get agitated about, I mean, it's not for me to tell you how to live your life, but it's in my opinion, get agitated about actual football that is happening in less than 2 hours' time, because ultimately that's what it's all about. And sometimes it feels like transfers have become their own sport, where you see people talking about, writing about, thinking about who has won the transfer window when the transfer window slams shut. How the fuck do you know who has won the transfer window until you see the players play?
Yeah, of course.
So,
and Sorry, go on.
told Arsenal had a good transfer window last summer because they signed Nicolas Pepe, who'd had one good season for Lille for 72 million quid. But now we've seen Nicolas Pepe play for. Most people who are celebrating and trumpeting this fact, how many times have they seen Nicolas Pepe play for Lille? Not that many. And United signed Angel Di Maria, who was one of the best players in the world when they signed him. But it didn't work. And I wouldn't particularly blame most of that on Di Maria, actually. I blame it on Manchal, but it doesn't matter. You thought Angel Di Maria was almost like, how is this one going to fail?
It would be the one.
But absolutely failed. And they forced him out the door 12 months later, a loss to Paris Saint-Germain, where he went and was great again and won those trophies.
Yeah, and that is, and that's the element. And it's what I say to fans: enjoy the transfer window. Don't allow it to. Do you know what happens every year? And maybe it's because I'm just that bit older. I've experienced it, and I've done all them things you've said. Where I'm like, we had the best window, and then been disappointed, or thought we've had a bad window. And I've seen years where you think, this. I remember when Everton sold Wayne Rooney. The word on the street was they're going to crumble and fall. They made the top 4. They had their best ever Premier League season. Certainly in my living memory, as someone at the time was in my early, I was 18. I'm the same age as Wayne Rooney. And it was this case of you just, if you go through it and study football, it happens all the time. Arsenal fans, as you rightly said, at the beginning of the season, they're like, we've got maybe the third, fourth best manager in the league, one of the best squads, had the best window. At most, you look at all the journalist predictions, all the sports pundits more than journalists. Arsenal made the top 4 in 85, 90% of them, and they nearly finished 10th. So, yeah, I agree with you. Get agitated about the game. Focus more on the game tonight. This, in my opinion, is for all it's worth. And it's funny as well, because I've had about 25, 30 DMs now. People going, Fabrizio has said the deal's off. I'm like, no, he has just quoted what Michael has said. That's it. He hasn't Fabrizio has not given an opinion on whether the deal is on or off. And for me, that's none of the credible journalists, including yourself, Daniel, have done that. None of the journalists that you turn to. And I'm sure if your source that's giving you the other information said, look, it's absolutely dead, you would run with the narrative that it looks like it's completely and utterly over. And not one single credible journalist, not one single credible pundit, not one single credible person with information has said this deal is dead, this deal is over. It's all stemmed from rival fans, which, by the way, I get.
And also things change. So it might look like it's about to happen, and then it might not happen, or it might look like it's not going to happen. And so the information that was communicated at a particular time might have been right at that time, but things change. And people also shouldn't be surprised when that happens. You're talking about a load of money. And as we were saying before, everyone, particularly people whose job is basically money, like Daniel Levy, like Ed Woodward, ultimately their bosses want to see money. So everyone wants to make money, and people, those kind of people in particular, and everyone really. I'm not exempting myself from this shit. Everyone likes getting money, and no one likes giving money away.
Exactly.
Feeling of saving money and getting something for less than you thought it was worth, or less than you thought you were going to have to pay, and getting more than you think something is worth, and more than you thought you were going to get. Like, I mean, think about it in like really menial terms. Like we've all like jibbed the tube. Let's say.
Yeah, I have. I'm from East London, bro. Every week.
Yeah. I went to school in Camden. And when you get to that age where it's like, actually, how am I going to finance all the stuff that I need to finance that I can't afford if I pay for the tube? Don't be ridiculous. Everyone's jibbed the tube. Everyone, you get off a parking ticket. Whatever, you don't pay for a parking ticket. You get back to your car and you haven't got a parking ticket.
Yeah,
we're talking like a tenner or 40 quid or a quid or whatever it is. And these guys, for them, like their amount of money like that is millions and tens of millions and hundreds.
Yeah.
Barry Hearn once said to me, I made a film about darts a few years ago. I spent a lot of time with Barry Hearn. And he said to me this great line where he said, I love sport, but I'm shit at sport. So my sport is profit and loss accounts and balance sheets. That's my sport. And that's exactly, and Barry Hearn is brilliant at that thing. And that's the same with Ed Woodward, who's not so brilliant at that thing, but that's still his thing. Like his sport is making money for the Glazers, and is one of the worst things about football that is the case. And the Glazers should never have been allowed to buy Manchester United because the government should have stopped it, because the Premier League should have stopped it, because the Football League should have stopped it. But that is what happened. And you got to make the bet. Final thing I'd say on the financial side of it is this. I know you've got to go and so by actually, but the people always compare it to like buying a car, buying a house, and I've done that in the past. And then I realized it's actually very different most of the time. It's like trying to buy a car off someone or a house off somebody who doesn't want to sell it. It's a very if you go to BMW on Saturday with your other half and your kids, and you say, right, we're going to go and buy a brand new X5. When you walk in there, they will look to do you a deal on it because they are trying to sell them. If you just go and knock on someone's house who's got an X5 and try and buy his car off his driveway, it's a very different conversation. And I think that's where football fans are sometimes just got to have that little bit of patience and understand. I'll give the example of Timo Werner. Timo Werner said that he got the offer from Chelsea even before lockdown. It took them 3 months to finalize that move. And that was with a buyout clause of £42 million. These things take time. Daniel, I appreciate you coming on as ever, my friend. We'll chat to you again soon, mate. Enjoy your evening. See you again. You too. Bye.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you. Bye-bye. There's Daniel Harris, their sports writer, filmmaker. You can catch him at Daniel Harris on Twitter. And, of course, he writes for the Guardian as well. As I said earlier, listen, Man United fans, don't be triggered by this. The deal can still happen. The deal still may very well happen. There is none, maybe a few, but there's very few that I've seen. I ain't actually seen one yet. Let me rephrase that. A single credible journalist say this deal is off. This deal is over. This is still a poker game. Relax your heads. Don't fall for the banter. Grow some thick skin. Take it on the chin. And wait for the next few days, more news coming. Listen, until then, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.